Have you ever heard of sea monsters so terrifying they were thought to be a pure legend? Turns out some of these so-called myths weren't entirely made up. Today we're diving into the ocean's darkest corners and revealing 9 mythical sea creatures that might have actually existed. Imagine you're out at sea, the water is calm, the sky fading pink, and then you hear it. A voice, soft, melodic, hypnotic, coming from somewhere in the distance that you can't quite place. You move towards it like you're not even in control anymore. This is how fishermen have described the call of the sirens. Not screaming monsters, not banshees, just beautiful voices hiding something dangerous. These stories aren't just ancient myths either. Modern day fishermen still talk about hearing strange voices over the water, sometimes singing, sometimes calling their names, and sometimes laughing. One fisherman said he was alone on his boat when he heard a woman humming just outside the cabin. When he rushed out, only to find nothing, no boat, no people, just silence and waves. In some coastal cultures, it's believed sirens fake drowning to lure rescuers into sea. Once you get close, they grab you and you never come back. Some describe sirens as half-breed, half-bird, half-woman. Others say that they're human-looking, but off. Glowing eyes, sharp teeth, webbed fingers. The one thing all the stories agree on is the voice, that it's always a trap. Scientists blame it on dehydration, stress, or how sound bounces weirdly across water. But the people who've heard it, they don't forget, and they don't laugh it off. Maybe sirens don't crash ships anymore. Maybe they just sing, quiet, patient, waiting for someone to come a little too close to them. So if you're ever near the shore and you hear music, don't follow it. Because if you can hear the siren can hear you. The Kraken. This giant sea monster comes straight out of Norse mythology, described as a beast so massive it could take down an entire ship. It has the eyes the size of a shield, and a temper you definitely don't want to mess with. The stories about the Kraken go all the way back to the 13th century. Norway and Greenland feared this thing so much, they'd sail miles out of their way to avoid Kraken waters. But here's the craziest part. Scientists now believe those old Kraken tales may have been inspired by real encounters with giant squids. We're talking squids over 40 feet long, with suckers lined with hooks and beaks that can crush bone. Those creatures live deep in the ocean, where almost no light reaches, so when sailors saw one rise to the surface, it must have looked like something straight out of a nightmare. Giant squids weren't confirmed by science until 2004, but ancient legends describe them with freaky accuracy. So maybe, just maybe, the Kraken isn't a myth at all, a misunderstood monster of the deep. Globster. Next is the Globster. Doesn't sound scary, right? But wait till you hear what it actually is. A globster is a giant, unidentifiable sea creature that washes up to shore looking like a massive lump of flesh. No eyes, no bones, no clear shape, just a stinking blob that shouldn't exist. Reporters of the globsters go back to hundreds of years. One of the most famous was found in Tasmania in 1960. It was over 20 feet long and covered in strange bristles. Scientists couldn't explain it. Locals thought it was the sea monster. But here's the twist. Many globsters turn out to be decomposed whales or sharks. So rotted, they don't even look like animals anymore. The bones disappear, the flesh balloons up, and the fat turns jelly-like. But not all the cases are that simple in 2003. In 2003, a massive blob washed up to Chile, over 40 feet long, with a weird texture and no bones. DNA tests didn't match it to any known species. Some experts guessed it might have been a sperm whale, but others weren't convinced, and they still aren't today. Today, globsters have also shown up in Bermuda, and even in the Philippines sometimes, with weird features like hair or tentacle-like arms. Cryptozoologists think they could be the remains of deep-sea animals that have never been discovered before. And honestly, they might be right. We've only explored a tiny fraction of our ocean. So it's not impossible something massive and bizarre is still down there, waiting to float up one day and scare the life out of people on the beach. Globsters are a reminder of how little we really know what's in our oceans. And sometimes the strangest things don't even live in the water. They wash up from it. And sometimes the strangest things don't live in the water. They wash up from it. So next time you're walking on a beach and you see a weird blob, maybe just keep walking. Sea serpent. The sea serpent, not just one, but hundreds of stories across different cultures, from ancient Greece to Inuit legends. Long snake-like monsters sliding beneath the waves. Some said they were over 100 feet long, with dragon heads, glowing eyes, and sharp spines running down their backs. Massive enough to crush ships and terrifying enough to haunt the dreams of sailors for centuries. One of the most famous sightings happened in 1848 when the HMS Daedalus, a British Navy ship, reported seeing a creature over 60 feet long moving through the water with a vertical motion, not side to side like a fish. The crew swore it had to be a mane and had a head like a horse, unlike they have anything seen before. People laughed it off though, called it the sailor's imagination or seaweed tangled on a log, until more sightings started piling up. From Norway, the US, Iceland, Japan, even the Persian Gulf, all with eerily similar descriptions. Some scientists think these might have been oarfish, massive ribbon-like fish that can grow over 30 feet long. They have silver bodies, huge reflective eyes, and red fins that can run the length of their backs, looking almost mythical when they appear near the surface. Oarfish usually live in the deep ocean and rarely come up unless they're dying or disorientated. So when one does, it's easy to imagine ancient sailors mistaking them for sea dragons. Still, others believe sea serpents are something else entirely. Not fish, not whale, but maybe a species we've never discovered. Something prehistoric hiding in the depths. After all, we know more about space than the bottom of our own oceans. So are sea serpents real? Depends on what you believe. If you are ever at sea and spot a ripple that's just a little too long, a shape that disappears too fast, maybe, just maybe, you've seen one. Ningen. The Ningen is one of the creepiest sea legends to come out in the internet age, first mentioned in the Japanese online forums in the early 2000s. The name Ningen literally means human, and that's what makes it so unsettling. Witness describes a massive pale white sea creature swimming near Antarctica. It has a face, it has limbs, and it's big, like whale-sized big. Some say it has arms and legs with 5-fingered hands, while others claim it has a mermaid-like tail and no visible features. One crew even reported seeing what they thought was a submarine in the distance, but as they approached it, they realized it wasn't metal, it was alive. And then it vanished beneath ice-cold water without a sound. There are a few grainy photos online, but nothing clear, just shadowy, smooth shapes under the surface. Skeptics say that it's probably just whales, icebergs, or just giant rays. Antarctica is full of strange sightings, and the human brain is quick to fill in the blanks when we're scared. But some believers think there's more to it. They say the Japanese government covered up Ningen sightings, warning crews not to speak. There's no official proof, no body, no video, but the legend won't go away. It keeps coming back in stories, videos, and late-night internet theories. The ocean is massive, and Antarctica depths are barely explored. So who knows what's really swimming down there? Maybe Ningen is just a myth, or maybe right now something pale and silent under the iceberg, watching the surface, waiting to be seen. Trunko. In 1924, people in Margate, South Africa, saw something insane. Just offshore, 2 killer whales were locked in a 3-hour battle with a huge, furry white creature. People stood on the beach watching as this mystery beast leaped into the air, slapped the whales with its tail, and then eventually went still. Later that day, its body washed up to shore. Witnesses said it looked like a cross between polar bear and elephant. It was a 47-foot long, covered in snow-white hair, with a 10-foot tail and strange trunk-like feature on its head. No blood, no eyes, and no one had an idea what it was. The newspapers called it Trunko. Crowds gathered on the beach to stare at this bizarre monster. But here's the wild part. No scientists ever examined it. After 10 days, the tide pulled it back to sea, and it was gone. For decades, people thought the whole thing was just a local myth, but in 2010, old photos of Trunko were discovered in a forgotten archive. They showed a massive, hairy blob on the beach, exactly like people described. Experts looked at the photos and gave a less exciting answer. They said Trunko was probably just a whale carcass. When the whales decompose, their tissue can break apart and hang off their bodies like fur. That trunk, possibly part of its internal organs. Yeah, gross. But still, for 10 days straight, a small town believed they had found a small live sea monster. And honestly, who wouldn't? Whether it was a rotting whale or something strange. The legend of Trunko proves one thing. When something washes up from the deep, people always hope it's more than just another dead fish. Cadborosaurus. Cadborosaurus, or Caddy, if you're on the first name basis, is one of the most famous sea serpent legends in the Pacific Northwest. For over 100 years, people have reported seeing a long snake-like creature in the waters of the British Columbia and Alaska. In 1933, two locals spotted something massive in Cadboro Bay. It had a horse-like head, humps along with its back, and moved through the water like a giant eel. The media called it Cadborosaurus, which means Cadboro Bay lizard. And just like that, a modern myth was born. Since then, there has been over 300 reported sightings from fishermen, sailors, and even scientists. Some say it has flippers, others say fur, but they have all described something big, weird, and alive. In 1937, a whaling station found a strange carcass inside a sperm whale's stomach. It was 10 feet long, with an odd head and a long tail. Some believed it was a baby caddy, while others claimed it was just a fetal whale. In 2011, a blurry video surfaced in Alaska showing a long wriggling shape moving through the water. Believers said it had to be a caddy. Skeptics rolled their eyes. Scientists argued it's probably a misidentified animal like oarfish, sea lions, or even floating logs. They say our brains love turning shapes in the water into monsters, but after 100 years of sightings and a story that refuses to disappear, you have to wonder, maybe something real is behind it all. Something ancient, deep in the ocean, just smart enough to stay hidden. Next time you're near the Pacific coast, take a look at the water. If it moves in a way it shouldn't, you might just catch a glimpse of Cadborosaurus, the U-28 sea monster. On July 30th, 1915, during World War I, the German submarine U-20 torpedoed a British steamer called Iberian off the coast of Ireland. The explosion was massive, but what happened next was something no one expected. According to the submarine's captain, George Gunther von Forstner, a huge aquatic creature was launched into the air by force of the blast. It was about 60 feet long, with a head like a crocodile, 4 large flippers, a long pointed tail, and roughly scaly skin. The monster thrashed in mid-air for about 10 seconds before crashing back into the ocean. 6 officers on board witnessed the same thing. Von Forstner didn't tell anyone for years. It wasn't until 1933 that he published his story, and by then, the world was already buzzing about another famous sea creature, the Loch Ness Monster. Some people thought he made it up for attention. Others said it was just a whale or a giant fish caught in an explosion, but the description was detailed, and von Forstner stuck to his story until the day he died. No photos were taken, and the sea creature was never seen again. Skeptics still say it was a case of a mistaken identity mixed with stress and confusion during the battle. But if trained officers all saw the same thing at the same time, with no reason to lie, it makes you wonder, did something prehistoric rise up from the deep just for a few seconds, then disappear forever, or was it just a trick of the light and adrenaline? Either way, that moment in 1915 gave us the most chilling sea monster sightings in history. Umibōzu. is a giant shadowy sea spirit from Japanese folklore, said to appear suddenly on calm waters and destroy ships without warning. It's described as a massive black figure with a round bald head like a monk, and shoulders that rise high above the ocean surface. No one has ever seen its full body, only the top half before everything goes wrong. Sailors claim it demands a barrel or bucket from a crew. If they refuse or don't give it fast enough, the Umibōzu begins scooping water into the ship, flooding it until it sinks. Some stories say it can change shape. Others say it speaks in strange groaning sounds and laughs while dragging boats under. Fishermen who survived encounters describe equipment snapping without reason in dead calm, and black forms towering over their vessels before vanishing. Some say it hates speaking. Others say it appears only to those who disrespect the sea. There are tricks apparently. Offering a barrel with no bottom confuses it. Lighting a pipe might scare it off, but nothing guarantees survival. Skeptics blame rogue waves, storms, or hallucinations from exhaustion, but the consistency of these stories passed down from generations of coastal fishermen makes it hard to ignore. Modern sightings still happen. Boat report strange shadows on radar, voices heard through radios, and moments of unexpected chaos. In every version, it comes without a warning, and it doesn't leave survivors unless it wants to. No one knows where it comes from, only that when the Umibōzu rises, the ocean answers to it. If the sea suddenly turns quiet, if your boat feels too still, and the air grows heavy, there's no time to run, because if it's really the Umibōzu, you were already too late. Thank you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. I really appreciate it, and it would mean a lot if you like and subscribe. This is the first video on my channel, and it took a long time to make this, so I'd really appreciate your support. And if you guys want me to do more sea creatures, interesting videos like this, mysteries, legends, whatever you want me to cover next, let me know down below, and I will be sure to take your ideas into consideration. Until then, see you guys. Peace out.